Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. Oh, gosh, man, how pumped I am to be here with you guys today. We have a lot to talk over. I was telling Blake before the show today, I don't even have a show sheet, so I don't know what I'm going to do with, I'm always looking at the sheet saying we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about this. I feel like there's enough to talk about today with everything going on in the football world that I didn't need anything to guide me here at the very beginning of the show. And I think one of the most important things is we say, what's up to everybody here in the chat, man. So good to see all you guys. Sandman, Blake, Winfrey, Rodolfo, Banks, Jonathan Sturrock, Hacker, Richard Arias, Christopher Lyons, all you guys. And we'll be able to talk throughout the course of the show about everything going on. I think the most important thing to talk about right now is this odds shift with that we're seeing in real time with Kalen DeBoer going from just earlier today, whenever Blake shared the betonline.ag numbers there, it was Kalen DeBoer at what was it, Blake? Plus 100. And so even money. And for you guys who, as I'm reading these, but maybe I'll explain it to the people who, I think most of you guys who watch this show are kind of gambling degenerates like me and Blake and some of the people in the chat. But what it means to say that somebody's like even money, that means that if you were to be in the sports book and you wanted to put down $100, just let's say it's a $100 bet that you want to make, that Kalen DeBoer is going to be the next coach at Alabama. You put down that $100, and if he was the next coach and he was named the next coach, right, then you can go back to the window and they will give you $100 back, right? Now, there's ways where you can be a favorite and ways where you can be sort of an underdog, right? So if you're a favorite, those numbers go to minuses. So let's say where Kalen DeBoer has moved to now, which is minus 275 on the latest update on betonline.ag. He's gone from even money to minus 275. That means this: whenever you have and Sark is now up to plus 250, whereas he was at plus 175 earlier. And here's what those numbers mean. And look, I'm sorry for you guys who are just, I'm sorry for you guys that this is very elementary for, but I do know that we have some kind of olds and I'm not sure, olds, kids, people that might not get this stuff. So whenever you're minus 275, that means that if you think Kalen DeBoer right now is going to be the next head coach at Alabama, you can walk up to the booth, right, and tell the guy at the sports book, I'd like to bet on Kalen DeBoer to be the next head coach at Alabama. And if you did that, you'd have to put down $275 now to make your $100 back. Whereas just earlier today, literally, but Blake, what was it? Was it 3 hours ago that you tweeted that thing out that he was plus 100?
Yeah, about 3 hours ago.
So, right. So it's like in 3 hours, this thing is going from, and man, the house always wins. Vegas knows. So if you look at where Sark is, he was at plus 175. Now, what that means is that he was a slight underdog, right? Now, compared to the rest of these dudes, it feels like Lane Kiffin has popped back up a small bit because earlier he wasn't at plus 1,000 and now he's sitting at plus 500. I felt like there was a big drop off between these top three, DeBoer, Norvell, and Sarkisian down to.
Well, the thing is that Lanning was the favorite yesterday, and now we have the Lanning announcement. Now he's dropped off the board. He was plus 300 earlier today. Then he was plus 1,000. Now he's plus 2,000. Obviously, he's staying at Oregon. So
Yep. He's staying at Oregon.
That's impacted the odds.
And I have thoughts on all this. So, but I just wanted to get through this lesson about how these are what's called American odds. These are American odds. Now you can have European odds wherever it has like 2-1, 5-2, 13-1, stuff like that, right? I actually have a hard time understanding those, but as far as American odds, that's what it is. So if you wanted to bet right now,
wait, you have a hard time understanding 13-1 and that kind of stuff?
No, I'm just so used to doing the American odds that stuff, like, it would be hard. I have to use spreadsheets for me to translate that stuff to American odds for me to whenever I'm doing whenever I'm doing betting and handicapping and stuff. This just comes more natural to me. And this is what people use here in America, right? Across the major sports books. Basically what it is, if you wanted to bet Sark right now, you would say man, I'll put down $100 on Sark just to see what happens, because if he is the next head coach at Alabama, I get my 100 back, plus they're going to give me $250 more on top, right? So that's what plus 250 means. I'd imagine we're going to see Sark continue to fall more. Ketchum had the report just earlier today, and we'll have a bunch of good stuff at Orange Bloods, man. I've been working today, putting together some stuff from various sources for the War Room. I know that Ketch has been working on some War Room stuff. Generally, I don't do too much of the War Room stuff because, I have all this stuff going on, and I'm, more of an analyst than like a news guy that has all these sources like, Anwar and Ketch do. But with Anwar being in Mexico, I did, try and pick up a little bit of slack and put on the whole journalist Alex hat and call up some sources and see what's going on. But I did find one very, very, very interesting. Journalist Alex
at work.
Alex the Journo. I did get one lead. It's very interesting, and we're going to talk about it here in a minute. But what Ketch's reporting was that that so no one's freaked out at Texas about Sark. Obviously, this is put it into perspective that dude's about to get paid. He's about to get paid at Texas. He's going to get extended. And we got off the show yesterday, and literally right after, it was Football Junkie in the chat, and it said Saban just retired. And Blake and I were, we're just winding down the show, talking about some stuff. And I'll look at the chat. I'm like, Football Junkie, like that guy's, that isn't the guy that posts a lot of jokes into the chat and stuff. And so we just looked it up, and sure enough, we figured it out. Blake's like, do you want to go back on the air? I'm like, well, I mean, I don't really know that I have a lot to say about the Alabama football team and Saban. And then as Blake and Chad came on, I realized I had a million things to say.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean you don't have anything to say about this?
You guys started talking.
Biggest college football story in like decades.
Yeah. But man, just a complete complete shock. And my first initial thought was, before I even thought about Dan Lanning, I've thought about DeBoer. I like, that was the guy that I originally said that, I would have thought at the very beginning of the year, if Deion Sanders would have done what it looked like he was going to do with Colorado this year, this would have been the epic Deion spot. It's not going to be, right.
Did you hear what I said on that reaction show with Chad yesterday? I said, man, if Dan Lanning ends up at Alabama, who's going to Oregon? Is Deion.
Oh, Deion.
That's going to be the flashiest program college football's ever seen.
Yeah, that'd have been cool.
Deion. Would have been glorious.
Here's the other thing, too. I want to talk about rating the Alabama roster. I want to talk about the fallout from this. And the fallout from this is going to have shockwaves that continue to go on, because what happens whenever a coach leaves their school is the roster gets a 30-day wide open transfer portal time, right? So Alabama's going to have some guys hit the portal. They really are. You saw you saw Marlon Humphrey today on Twitter saying like he's from Alabama. He's like I'm not going to lie, like I'd be in the portal if Saban left. That's an alumni, and you're getting it from all over. You're hearing so much with all this. Is there a super chat? I'm sorry. Did I
RT Aquatics is saying over under 10 mil. I guess that's for Sarkisian contract.
Over. Yeah, it's gonna be over 10 million. He's gonna get done. He's gonna go ahead and double this thing up. Can you imagine what a difference it would make in your life if your salary doubled overnight? And, but then imagine your salary being $5 million. It's just, I was
about to say, doubling it doesn't do a whole lot, but $5 million would do a lot more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you double your salary, I think you'd have a few lifestyle changes, right? Like,
oh yeah,
just imagine, man. Just like, even I understand his lifestyle is completely different and completely divorced from anything that we're living right now. But I think it's William O3 saying it should be under, and I'm just saying why.
The going rate for coaches is.
Do you want Sark to be the fourth highest paid coach in the SEC? I mean, because that's what it would make him. So I guess Saban's gone now. So who knows what? But the new coach is not going to make less than $10 million. right? Kirby Smart makes $10 million. And who was the other big one in the SEC? We talked about the other day, Blake. I think there's one other 10+ million guy.
I'm pulling it up right now. Is it Brian Kelly?
Oh, it's got to
Off the
be.
top of my head.
So it's got to be Brian Kelly. So and
I see Saban, Dabo, Kirby, Ryan Day, Mel Tucker before he was fired, Lincoln Riley, all above 10, and Brian Kelly is at 9.9.
Okay, 9.9. So
that could be
they're going to give Sark 10. They're going to give Sark $10 million. It's a good round number. I don't necessarily think that this is going to be something where they need to extend him, but given the circumstances as they stand right now, I've always said with my takes, I'm willing to change him at any point, right? I said you don't extend a Big 12 coach into the SEC. The SEC has just had a nuclear blast to it at this point. And so it's, Texas now has the shot to have a guy who, man, I was listening to an Alabama podcast earlier. The dude's who's that old man? I'm not going to call him an old man. He's got gray hair. It's like the Locked On Bama podcast or whatever. And these dudes are having the day after, like, kind of shell-shocked, podcast. And they were, those two guys were saying that Lanning was their first hope, and that thing has been blown to smithereens. But after that, they thought that Sark would be the best hire. And there would be reasons they thought that Sark would be possibly interested in the job. And they said, it's not a lock. He's at Texas now. They have just as much or more resources than Alabama. But it's like, well,
we'd be saying the same thing if we were a Bama side, Alex.
If Saban's gone in the SEC, and you have Sark, and he's the guy that a lot of Bama fans want, and he's been to the college football playoff now. He's shown that he can recruit. I mean, I'm not sure you're going to be able to go out. I think it's just different now. Things have just changed. With Nick Saban out of the picture, like I said, shockwaves everywhere. It's going to be a spot where I think they're going to have to get the raise and the extension done. And everybody's going to say, well, but we can't overpay. Alex, we can't overpay again. What about Herman? All this into that. I say, dude, you're not going to be the one that ends up paying any kind of buyout if he needs to get fired. You're not going to be why are you being so fiscally conservative with some other rich dude's cash? Like, so he's like, I don't care. If I want to fire him, I'll fire him. It's my money.
Man, Mark Stoops makes over $9 million. They're paying Sark at least 10.
I think 10 million is a good round number. I think it's fine. I would personally, like I said, if I was making the decisions and it was me on the hook for the cash, I would be a little, I'm just a little bit more of a frugal guy, right? So like, I'm not sure that I would want to see Sark do it in the SEC, but I'm not sure at this point you're going to be afforded that opportunity with the new leverage that he has, and the leverage that he has is definitely smart. Without fan bias, what's a better job, Texas or Bama? Well, that depends on your view of. That's entirely up to you. What do you?
I'll say this, man. Following Saban at Bama is one hell of a task, whereas the expectations at Texas, given what's happened over the last 10 years, are fairly low for a program like this. I'd rather be here, but I'm a guy who wants to avoid stress and taking those years off my life. So,
well, my take on this thing is you're crazy to go take the Bama job. I'm not sure. I mean, I think for DeBoer, he's been such an awesome coach. He's been such, dude. What is Kalen DeBoer's? I was just looking up his. Do you know that he is? He's 104-12 as a head coach.
Now, that's what we told you like 3 months ago, Alex. And you're like, no, this guy.
Yeah, I know. But it was once again a time where Cody was right, and just whenever you hear, and I was like, I made fun of him. I said, who cares what happened at Sioux Falls Community College or whatever the heck? But you do hear the people up there talk about him, and you watch some of this stuff coming into the national championship game and into the CFP stuff, and he has God status up there. I mean, they just talk about him like he's the football god. I think that if it is DeBoer, he's the kind of dude who one, he connects with his players really well, and I keep going back, and this is going to be important to the next thing that we talk about. I promise that all this is going to make sense. So not only did he talk Rome Odunze and McMillan and all those guys to stick around and not enter the transfer portal right when he first got there to UW. That was a big thing he had to do, was to keep those guys and retain them, right? Not only that, after the Alamo Bowl last year, Rome could have gone. People forget Rome's a senior, right? It's like you think of him as one of the top wide receivers, like the best, maybe the best wide receiver in college football, and he's coming, and you just automatically, like the way things have gone in recent years, that guy's usually a junior, right? That guy's usually a junior that's coming out, that's the real hot shot. He convinced him to come back. He convinced McMillan to come back. He convinced Braylon Trice to come back. All these guys for the Natty. I think if you're Alabama, for one, if this is DeBoer and Blake, let's keep our eye on this thing to see if it falls any lower than minus 275, because if it does, it starts to feel more and more like a lock. If this thing gets to minus 300, minus 350, that means they have information about a flight that's taking place. You know what I mean? Private jet. people getting on the old jet.
That was happening last night with landing. They were just wrong about it.
Yeah. But you're talking about a dude who I think is an alpha that is not scared about going in and building culture, and who's done it with lesser players, and I think he'd be able to go in there and talk a lot of dudes into staying. I think that, but they need to get it done quick, man. They can't just, as long as this thing's percolating, as long as this thing's festering, these guys are going to I know I'd be at least thinking about hopping in the portal.
The reporting has been, Alex, that the Alabama athletic department told the team, like, we're going to have another hire in place in the next 72 hours.
Okay. So yeah,
this thing is happening.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I am not look, I got to say this as an analyst of the team, a guy that went to Texas, a guy that was in the stands for Vince twice in 2 Rose Bowls. I'm from this Texas side of things. Yeah, it's like Nick Saban's gone. You're pretty happy about that. It just stinks for college football, but it's definitely kind of nice to, I guess, not have to worry about Nick Saban. I know some people out there say, Alex, no, we want to be able to take him on at full strength and stuff. I'm like, well, they've played Saban a few times already. Sark has shown that he can beat the guy. He's lost to him once. But and part of me says, like, man, the SEC is just cooler with Nick Saban kind of ruling the roost and being the GOAT, and just like, it makes it feel like, the Southeastern Conference is just this like bubbling cauldron of monsters down here with your Sabans and all your but so I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this: of any new coach to come in, the one I would prefer not to see at Alabama would be DeBoer. Just through the course of that whole thing, through the course of studying him, I slowly began to become more and more impressed with him. I slowly began to become more and more aware of what he is as a culture builder and what he's been able to do, and the way he connects with players and the way he schemes things up, dude. Some of the things that he decided he was going to put in place as an offensive-minded head coach, that he had his defense put into place to counterattack what Texas was going to be able to do, mainly with all those zone drops to bat down all those balls. It was brilliant, and it was his idea. And that's the kind of thing that what you want in what Michael Lombardi calls a chief figure out officer, right? You want somebody who's, not just going to have their nose in the playbook, dialing up plays, trying to be the one that racks up all the stats and stuff, and not caring about winning the actual games, man. This is a dude that wins. Mm-hmm. So look, I think DeBoer, home run hire for them. You hear them on the podcast and stuff talking about, oh, I wanted Lanning, or what about, what about Norvell and just like all this? I'm just like, you guys, man, you're not seeing the forest through the trees. I've come around on DeBoer, and I think that it would be a great hire for those guys. So whenever these players do get in the portal, that means that everything Texas has done so far with these extra positions that they need to fill up, primarily at wide receiver, this has all gotten shaken completely to smithereens now. I don't know what they're going to be doing. I don't know how they're going to be dealing with this stuff. It's going to be a big theme moving forward. We're going to have some things about this in the war room, and I'm gonna talk. It's going to be a big beefy war room. And as long as we're talking about beef, I got to tell you about Texas beef traders. Oh gosh, Texas beef traders. Just look at that tomahawk steak that they have over there. Do you know the Texas beef traders brings in its meat directly from Mason, Texas, once a week, hung for 13 days with a precision a precision process to make sure that the meat is as tender and juicy and delicious as possible. Black Angus herd that is never commingled with other herds, never given any steroids, never given any inoculations, never given any cockamamie shots, is from right here in the Texas Hill Country, fresh, processed on site, bovine nutritionists on staff. And when you go and you see Darren and Shay at Texas Beef Traders, it's going to be like seeing some old friends. I mean, they're here watching the show just like you are. They're giant college football fans, and they're going to hand you a beer. They're going to say, "Hey, look, man, I want to tell you about the place. I want to tell you about this meat, and I'm going to give you 10% off. And I'm probably going to hook you up with some other stuff too, because that's how they want to do business there. They want to show you that this is the best beef that you can get in all of the Central Texas area. It's the only place that you can get this meat direct from Mason, Texas, from the MTX Ranch. I can't say enough about the place. I can't say enough about the product. The guys there are awesome. They have they have wine. Darren's a winemaker, so he has wines there that he's made. They can tell you why they taste good with this cut of beef and why they it's an excellent time. It's right in the heart of Lakeway off of Loman's Crossing. And if you have a hard time getting to Lakeway, dude, just call up there, get your discount, and work out a way for them to come deliver it to you. They'll do that. They deliver all over Austin to all kinds of restaurants and stuff. So Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com. If you order online, use promo code OBFWF10 for 10% off. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com, right there in the heart of Lakeway. Okay, so how does Texas take advantage of this situation with Alabama? And so, okay, I was on the phone today. Like I said, Journo Alex calling around to sources, trying to chase down some stories.
And esteemed media member, Alex.
Yep. And what I did, and this really is my journalism degree. I'm would just keel over right now. No, but I was just like, I think in J school they kind of teach you to start just talking to sources and feeling them around and seeing what kind of info you can extrapolate. And this kind of came from out of nowhere. I was talking to a dude. I was going to ask him about recruiting and stuff. He's like a recruiting dude, right? Like a director of personnel for a university that you would know. And so asking some of that, and I'm like, hey man, like, are you going after any of the Bama guys? And he's like, and you can read the call or you can read the notes that I had from him. But basically, it sort of came out. Look, a name that we need to become really familiar with, and we're going to talk about why in the war room. So make sure to go to Orange Bloods and read it. But number 17 for Alabama, wide receiver Isaiah Bond, just Isaiah Bond. 0017 Agent Bond. He's a sick player, man. He's good. He's a little bit small. You probably remember him from the 4th and 31. I think that was
he caught the ball in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, 4th and 31 versus Auburn. I'll just say this, man. He was pretty close to entering the portal before all this stuff, and Texas was in. There was something there enough so to where even other schools knew that Texas was kind of in on this thing with Isaiah Bond. So what I can tell you is that Isaiah Bond's going to be like, we're going to follow this thing, but let's just add that name into the lexicon as far as solutions at the wide receiver position. As we've talked about in these past couple of days, guys like CJ Daniels from Liberty, guys like Silas Bolden from Oregon State. Now you have look, dude, Ryan Williams now has decommitted from Alabama, right? Which brings that whole thing into consideration. But man, Bond is a guy that showed he can do it at the college level. I don't know if you have his stats pulled up, Blake. They weren't amazing this last year, but I think that we all know that Milroe for a lot of the season kind of left a lot to be desired as a pure pocket passer, and the fact that he was able to do what he was really, really special. And he's a guy who can hurt you from all over. He lined up for, I looked it up on Cockamamie PFF. I think it was 62% of the time out of the slot, 38% of the time outside. So he's versatile enough to where he can play either one. Yeah, there he is. Isaiah Bond. So 48 receptions for 668 and 4. If you looked at that as far as his pure market share, I mean, I'll bet you he was it him or was it a homeboy that was their leading receiver this year? I'll be interested to see. Let me see, just like on Sports Reference, if I can just pull this up quickly and see if he was indeed their leading receiver. So 2023 Alabama. So Burton was the leading receiver with 798. And then Isaiah Bond was the number 2, but Isaiah Bond did lead the team in receptions with 48. So Burton 39 for 798 and 8 touchdowns. Bond with 48 for 668 and 4 touchdowns. A little bit more, like I said, 60% out of the slot. So if we're talking about a guy like Bond and we're talking about rating the Alabama roster while the getting's good. Hold on. Wait, Brent Berry saying, "Well, it's over. Sark took the job." We can't.
No. Fake tweet. I see it. I'm looking right at it, guys.
Okay. God, don't
always look at the handle, people. Why do y'all always fall for this?
Brent Berry's like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta go take down that retweet."
The guy has 93 followers.
The Pete Thamel account with 93 followers. But the interesting thing about Bond is that we're talking about now. Okay, so Matthew Golden, Jonte Cook, all that stuff, right? That we know these guys are outside type receivers. All of this, Wingo outside, right? Bond could play in the slot, and this is nothing against DeAndre Moore, but I think Isaiah Bond's better, and I don't think that it needs to even be that much of a conversation between DeAndre Moore and Isaiah Bond. I think that if you had those 3 players, and given the fact that you're not bringing back Jatavion Sanders, and you're going to probably have a lot more 11 personnel next year, despite the fact that maybe going to the SEC, you're going to want to run as much 12 as you did this year, probably 45% 12 personnel. I'm not sure that they have the horses to do it unless they add somebody. And the guys that I've seen in the portal so far don't necessarily look like guys who I really want to be adding. So that leads to more time with the slot wide receiver on the field. I think that you could still get DeAndre Moore plenty of playing time. And there really hasn't been a receiver. They were really hesitant last year to do anything where they would take a guy that only been practicing at the outside spot, like a Jonte Cook, like Ketchum and I were talking about on these shows, and say like, man, Jonte's so explosive. And look, we love Whittington, but man, why not get Jonte Cook out there in the slot at least sometimes? Why not get him out there at least sometimes? Yeah. And they're like, they don't like playing that. The outside wide receivers and the slot wide receivers literally practice in different spots. And Jackson goes from one to the other, and he's got the GAs with one at the other. They practice different routes, different timing stuff. It's different, right? So you don't just take one of the outside guys and move him into slot. It's not what this staff does. This is a dude who probably, I think he would come in, and I think he would just come in and work with the slot guys. But maybe it would be a guy who they can make a case for to say it's like, well, he's pretty fast and he's a lid lifter, and we can design some stuff to where, we can give him some of those vertical shots out of the slot. Look at what. Hey, go back and watch the route that Bond ran versus Jahdae Barron, and tell me, like the big catch versus Jahdae Barron in the game earlier this year, and tell me that's not a dude that you would love having lined up for you. Isaiah Bond, just don't forget the name. I feel like this is something that we're going to, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But like, there's something going on here, and we're hearing it from different places. So make sure and read the War Room about all this. The other, and of course, man, if you're rating their roster, what's the biggest prize on that Alabama roster? Probably Caleb Downs.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that'd be a big prize.
I think it's probably Caleb Downs. If we're talking about how much time these guys have, how many times these guys have left, or how many years these guys have left. Caleb Downs was a true Yeah, him and Anthony Hill were like two of the best true freshmen in the whole nation, right? But he's a safety, and I'm not sure that it's like Texas has done a really good job addressing safety. They have two great, two really good linebackers, Campbell and Jahad Campbell, and man, I forget the other one's name. I think what this does is the visit's still going to happen this weekend with what's the guy we talked about? Blackshire we talked about yesterday.
Kendrick Blackshire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's still going on. This whole thing is a reset, right? This is a tap the brakes moment for the Texas staff to say, like, all right, look, we don't know if we're going to take the guy that was the transfer portal dude out of there. If maybe there's a chance that we can go in and we can get one of the guys that he transferred out to go, you know what I mean? To get away from those guys, right? That's not going to be. And here's the other thing. Let's say DeBoer takes the job. Let's say Kiffin takes the job, like whatever it happens. Then you have another school that's getting their 30-day transfer portal window opened up.
Can you imagine Kiffin taking the job in that Ole Miss entire portal class? Like all those guys.
Yeah. They all come back out. You let all those fish back out into the sea. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of ways that this thing could run out, and in sort of, trying to figure out the ways that they could, you think, well, like Washington. What about that awesome? What about their safety?
This may go like 3 teams. This may be Inception, Alex, because then somebody's going to take that Washington job, and wherever that guy leaves, those players are available. Like this is such a big job that it just, like you said, it's a shockwaves to the whole thing.
It's a tap the brakes kind of moment as far as acquiring players in the portal, because the pool of available players who are going to be disgruntled at this point it's not like I can say it's doubled or it's tripled, because it wasn't there before. It's like alchemy. It just came from nowhere, and now it exists. And whatever gets picked away from Alabama before, I think is DeBoer still at minus 275?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And is Sark still at plus 250?
I'll refresh it just in case. Yes, same as they were when we started the show.
William O3 is saying that Jalen Polk is better than Isaiah Bond, and I disagree.
But you gotta keep in mind with Polk, like the amazing players he's playing with that are drawing attention.
Yeah. I mean, and also the fact that you're only going to have Polk for one. I mean, the main reason is that Polk will be a 1-year guy. You could have Bond for 2 years. So I disagree for that. But I do think that Jalen Polk's great, and I think, dude, and I think that DeBoer's an awesome coach. He's gonna. And Kenny, I guess I forgot. Did Jalen Polk officially declare for the draft already?
Oh, did he?
If he did, I guess I just forgot it. That makes sense.
Well,
so yeah.
I can't believe we missed it since there's like no news right now. I feel like
and there's this, man. There's the whole Bella. I mean, I can't believe we're not even. Dude, do you know who got swindled in this whole thing? Pete Carroll. As far as
Pete Carroll, yeah,
he deserves more headlines. I mean, dude, just think about what he did in Seattle, what he did at USC, all this stuff.
I broke into House Divided yesterday to break the Pete Carroll news, and then that became like, oh, that's like minor.
That's the show, right? That's the show, because but then Bo Davis goes to LSU, and then Belichick is leaving, right? And then Saban. And I can't believe, but it's like there must be something about that age 72, Blake. I'm not looking forward to it. Thankfully, I have I got a whole lot of years before then.
Hey, we're just hoping to get there first.
Yeah, right. But
long way to
go. So Carroll is 72, Saban is 72, and Belichick turned 72 in April. So there's something about this 72 that's done all this stuff. It's like, it's so crazy to me that the Pete Carroll getting banished to, like, he's not going to coach anymore. He's going quietly into the night. It's not like he met up with Seattle Brass and he met with his boy John Schneider. And dude, those guys are boys. Schneider and Carroll are boys, and Schneider's a good GM. And ultimately, it's kind of up to him who his coach is going to be and stuff. It's a weird situation where that had to be a really awkward talk that they put off for a long time. And to me, there's so much human interest in that story. And there's also the fact that Pete Carroll, his worst year in Seattle was, he still got to like 7 wins. He went he's been there since 2009. I think there's only been like 4 years he hadn't gone to the playoffs. He's won a Super Bowl there. Like,
he's one of 3 coaches all time who have won both a national championship and a Super Bowl.
And if you look at and it's not just a why he always he almost always advances in the playoffs. Like, I was just looking at it. It was I think during his time there, these are numbers off the top of my head. Like I said, I didn't make the show sheet today, but I think it was 5 times to the divisional round and 1 time to the Super Bowl. 5 times to at least the divisional round and 1 time to the Super Bowl victory. And
nobody went to the Super Bowl and lost because they didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch on the 2.
Yeah. But so it's like, can you believe that his story was not only outshined by 1 coaching deal with Belichick, but 2 coaching deals with Saban?
Yep.
Just unbelievable.
You know, they're the same age, right? Saban and Pete Carroll.
So
it's crazy.
Here's the obvious question. Kalen DeBoer, if he does end up at Alabama, which I think would be the it is the odds-on betting favorite, and I think it would be the best decision that they would make. I wouldn't want the job. I would not want to be the guy after the guy at Alabama, right? I think I want to be the guy after the guy after the guy, right? Have a little bit of, I think that what you have to the only thing that you would be considering if you were DeBoer, for one, you'd have to be a different kind of, maybe a little bit of a different kind of dude than me. Because you'd have to be somebody that is just, and I'm not saying that I'm not sure of myself, and I don't believe in myself, and I don't, but that is I'm also like I talked about in poker or in DFS and stuff. I'm a cash game player and I'm a grinder. I don't really play in these tournaments. I don't like taking these long shot lottery stuff. I like to stamp in, play the best plays, see if I can double my cash and get out of there. Right. It's a real big risky shot to take, to leave a job like that and go to Alabama, where it's like, literally, dude, if you could get fired there for having a couple of 9-win seasons. Like, you could get fired after 2 9-win seasons where you're in the final week of the season, you're competing to go to the SEC championship, and you manage to miss out on 2. You could get fired. And all you're doing is looking down at this statue down here that they put the oatmeal cream pies and the Coca-Colas on for Sark. And it's like, I want to be the guy after the guy, but the built-in built-in advantage that you have right now is that you do have that roster that he's brought in.
The system is still in place at the moment.
Yeah. The culture that, the culture that he is instilled, you probably still have guys. I mean, you're going to keep your Clinton Dixes and like your guys that are like director of player development. And I would imagine he would. He's going to keep the infrastructure around there, all the ex-player infrastructure that they have. I would imagine he keeps strength and conditioning. Do you think he would? If he gets rid of that strength and conditioning guy, that's a bad idea.
I can't guarantee anything. With how this is played out and Saban going into the sunset.
But man, I'm just, dude. It's big time, man. It's big, dude, and like it had reverberations all around the college football world. Really no bigger news than Val Garcia selling your house for free if you live in DFW. He's not going to charge you a penny. Val Garcia, look at Val Garcia. Look at that smile on Val Garcia. That's the smile of a man who's going to sell your house for free if you work in education or in the ministries. He's not going to charge you a penny. Right. If you just told me you heard about him on Football with Friends anywhere in DFW, Fort Worth proper, what do I say? Blake, come on, give me a Carrollton. You could be Carrollton. It could be Frisco.
This is your most nervous moment of every show is trying to name the DFW.
I get on. I get on here day after
Frisco,
day after day.
Carrollton, the colony.
Yeah, day after day after day. I don't get nervous about anything except having to name suburbs of Dallas. But dude, Val Garcia is not nervous about Dallas. Okay, it's his area, it's his place, and he's just an awesome guy, and he wants to work with you. The people in the education, the people in the ministries are the ones who he wants to work with, and be able to do so at no fee. He saved people over $60,000 in fees last year alone, guys. For people who gave deals to half price from here on Football with Friends, or people who just did your deal for free. If you work in education, you work in the ministries, and that's in it. You can be a teacher, you can be an administrator, he's even said here in the chat before, you can be a bus driver. You just got to work in education. You got to help the kids learn. Okay, so there he is, Val Garcia. He's going to do it for free. He's not going to sell your house for free. He's going to get you top dollar. He's going to help you get it staged. He's going to help you get it marketed. He's going to help you get it open house, all the rest of it. He's got 14 great agents working for him all across DFW, but you're going to work with Val directly. His phone number is 469-647-8729. Of course, he's at Valen Realty. He's Val Garcia at Valen Realty. So happy to have Val Garcia as a sponsor. Sandman saying it. Stark is staying for Val Garcia. John Kennedy saying, Alex, please tell me this. Why Sark hasn't put to rest the rumors he is staying at Texas? Just put it to rest like Lanning did. I will tell you why. He wants a new contract, man, and good for him. Yep. Let him get it. He's not going to put anything out. He'll go talk to the players. He can say, man, keep this quiet. I want you guys getting paid. I want me getting paid. Like, let's get paid. Let's go win. Let's go win some football games.
But if you want to feel better about it, L'Oreal Sarkeesian did comment on Quinn Ewers' coming back post and said, "Yeah, let's get it," with a hook 'em emoji. So
I mean,
take that for what it's worth.
Miss L'Oreal's gonna say whatever. But John Kennedy, I'll just tell you, man, that Sark's a smart enough guy to listen to his agent, right? His agent says, "Don't say anything. Let me handle this. We're gonna be good." And Sark's going to be good. And we're going to have a lot more of this in the war room, man. You guys are going to be good once you get to check it out. Everybody in the chat, dude, it would not be a show without you guys. We can't thank you enough for coming back day after day after day and letting us be a part of the day with you. Big one today. I'm sure we'll have a big one tomorrow. Maybe Cody will be back in for final takes. We'll have final takes about all kinds of
we missed another big breaking news, Alex.
What?
The Texas spring game is set for 4/20. Did you see that?
April 20th. So I wonder if that means I hope I don't have to miss one of these Axis hunts because
not again.
Because there's going to be practices. But one of them is over the weekend. And so generally they don't have open practices on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think during spring break is when I have the other one during the week. And they usually take that spring break week off of practices. So we'll see. I can't be missing one of these March hunts for Axis. So yeah, we'll have the
Texas spring game presented by Rogue Shop.
Yep. We'll have Cody on tomorrow for final takes. Love you guys, man. Thank you so much for hanging around here in the chat, and thanks to everybody that watches the show later, man. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. So for Blake, I'm Alex. We're done.